I feel like every offseason when I'm doing these podcasts and early season predictions, I always talk about how the Vikings can be competitive, they can be legit, they can contend, which is true as far as Mike Zimmer, for the most part, outside of 2014, he's always had the tools necessary to be successful as head coach with the Minnesota Vikings. It's just when it's game time, can you apply it on the football field? Can you execute? So what do the Vikings need to do to get over the hump with Mike Zimmer as head coach? For me, and he even talked about it after the 2019 season, the conclusion after losing to the Niners at Santa Clara in the divisional round, we need to get over the hump. So what is that? Let's dig deep into that a little bit. For me, my take on it is being consistently competitive in big games against quality opponents, because so far, after your first 6 years as head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, in those situations, you've been consistently underwhelming, almost like you don't even belong on the same field as those opponents that you're facing. Against the bad to okay teams, you're great. But against the top tier teams in the NFL, we're supposed to be right there with them. You look like you don't belong. And the pushback I usually always get from the Mike Zimmer fan club is, oh my God, he's one of the best coaches in the league. His overall record is blah, 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 blah. He's a top 10 head coach in the league. I don't believe that. I don't think he's a bad head coach by any means. It's not like he doesn't deserve to be an NFL head coach. It's just more so I think he does just enough of a good job to be okay, to be an average head coach. And I'm fair. I like to think that I'm fair because in 2018 or after the 2018 season, I did a podcast where I said, yo, this dude, Mike Zimmer, I've seen enough of him. His bark is way more intense than his actual bite. He needs to be fired, in which case his daughter found me on Instagram, sought me out, and called me an idiot, to which I replied, thanks. But it's not like I don't give the man credit when he deserves it. Go back in the archives, me reacting to the Green Bay Packers game week 2. I said, even in a loss, that this is one of the best games that Mike Zimmer has ever coached. You gave up an early 21-0 lead, I believe in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, definitely in the first half. Packers didn't score again for the rest of that game. You still lost, but the Vikings still had a chance to win that game. The wild card round against the Saints, Kyle Rudolph, the touchdown catch in overtime. I said, yo, I've been ripping this dude, Mike Zimmer, for years. There is nothing to hate on here. Great job coaching. At times, moving Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter to the interior D-line to play defensive tackle. Absolutely genius. Mike Zimmer deserves major credit. The Mike Zimmer Foundation replied to me on Twitter, in which I'm only assuming is also ran by the daughter, saying something along the lines of, well, it's about time that you gave him credit. And I wanted to respond back and say, well, it's about time that your father showed up in a big game. But I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to go ahead and let you get your shit off. It's only fair. I've been ripping this dude. I've been ripping their family member. And if someone ripped my family member consistently, I'd be like, yo, who the fuck do you think you are? Who are you? Shut the hell up. So it's only fair. I absolutely get it. I don't think Mike Zimmer is a bad head coach. I think he's an okay head coach, an average head coach. And for the Mike Zimmer fan club, listen, you can stat spin this however it is that you want to, but we have a 6-year sample size. The Minnesota Vikings, led by Mike Zimmer, have been consistently soft in those big games against the big boys in the NFL. And this isn't for the analytics community, who I can only imagine pre-pandemic go to the bars, the restaurants, their friends, their families' houses, their jobs, wherever it is. They would walk around. I can only imagine walking around carrying green screens to where if anyone, some random person says, hey, man, hey, did you see the game last night? What did you think about it? And they move like a meteorologist. Well, if you look at the charts and the graphs and the data here on the Doppler 9000, you will see the correlation of the adjusted plus minus of the defensive efficiency and like, shut the fuck up. They've been consistently soft against the big games. Let's review it year by year. The first 2 years, I give Mike Zimmer a pass. 2014, first year head coach, that's fine, 7-9. 2015, I'll give him a pass losing to the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round because of Blair Walsh. If anything, I put that more on Rick Spielman because you stuck with this guy. It became so clear, and I said this, I am documented saying this, that Blair Walsh, long before Wyatt left, he is going to be the demise of this team. And you kept him on, and sure enough, he absolutely did screw the Vikings over that 2015 playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. However, 2016, you started off 5-0. You finished that season in 2016 8-8. In fact, week 15, going up against the Indianapolis Colts, you lose 34-6. That game, the Vikings at the time, the start of play kickoff for that game, the Vikings were still in the playoff hunt. Even though they were free falling, they were still in the playoff hunt. However, I will say this till the day I die. That game against the Colts, week 15, 2016 season, the Vikings quit. They were soft. They looked like they had no interest on being on the field. They were still in the playoff hunt, but the way they played, you would think that they got eliminated from playoff contention the week before. 2017, you remember that NFC Championship game? 3.5 hours sitting there just like, yo, what? Y'all motherfuckers really sat here and wasted my time. 2018, week 17, a win and you're in scenario to get into the playoffs up against the Chicago Bears at your house, US Bank Stadium. And at which times for half of that game, the Bears, they weren't even playing their starters, and y'all looked soft out there. You lost. You didn't make the playoffs. 2019, you lost to the Niners, the divisional round at Santa Clara, and they used the same formula that the Vikings use. Run, play defense. Defense, running the game or running the football. They just did a much better job. They're just a much tougher team than the Minnesota Vikings. You got to be tough, man. Everything isn't going to go your way. This isn't about winning the Super Bowl. It's not about that. There's only 1 out of 32 teams a year that will win the championship. It's not about winning the Super Bowl. Whether you do or you don't, okay, fine. It's like, can you be competitive? Can you stand up for yourselves? Can you have some respect for yourselves? And far too often, we haven't seen that. I've been too often saying, wow, this has been a complete waste of my time. And the excuses, the nonstop excuses, well, look what Mike Zimmer has had to deal with quarterbacks, the quarterback shuffling. Folks, it's the NFL. Dudes get hurt. Players get hurt. The Tennessee Titans, I don't think Marcus Mariota got hurt. I think he just played poorly, or I can't remember exactly. But either way, they went with their backup quarterback. And with their backup quarterback in the AFC playoffs, they traveled to Foxborough and beat the Patriots. They traveled to Baltimore and beat the MVP of the league, Lamar Jackson, and the Baltimore Ravens. And they got to the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. That is fucking tough right there. The Philadelphia Eagles. In 2017, that NFC Championship game, they beat the Vikings with their backup quarterback. They won the Super Bowl with their backup quarterback. Well, Randy, that was a one-year blip. Who cares? Okay, in 2018, that following season, they lost their starting quarterback again due to injury. They had to rely on their backup quarterback again. They get to the playoffs. They travel to Chicago, to Soldier Field. They beat the Chicago Bears in the wild card round. A Chicago Bears team led by a head coach who Mike Zimmer has yet to beat in 2 years in 4 attempts, in 4 games. And if not for a blunder by Alshon Jeffrey, the Eagles were on their way to beating the Saints at the Superdome to get to the NFC Championship game again in consecutive years. Listen, man. And then going, the quarterbacks that he's had to go through. You went 13-3 with a backup quarterback in 2017, right? You can't have it both ways. Go to the NFC Championship game and you suck ass and say, well, you had to shuffle quarterbacks. You can't have it both ways. Things happen. By the way, we can talk about, we can go ahead and dismiss the quarterback shuffling that he's had to do, because now starting in 2020, he'll go 3 straight years with consecutive quarterback play. And for everyone that thinks that Mike Zimmer, this is the best head coach to fit the Minnesota Vikings, then that means that you're saying that the last 6 years of Mike Zimmer and the product that has been out there on the field representing the Minnesota Vikings and all the letdowns and just getting beat the fuck up by the real legit teams when it's crunch time, you look like you don't belong on the field. You're saying that that is the best that the Minnesota Vikings could have ever been, and to which I say absolutely not. I think the Vikings could have accomplished so much more than what they have up to this point. Let me know your thoughts. Or actually, real quick before I ask this question, if you're asking me, can the Vikings get over the hump with Mike Zimmer? They can. I mean, I think they can. The tools are there. But as far as gun to the head, make a choice right now, do you really see it happening? Give or take? I just don't see it happening because we have a 6-year sample size. So let me know your thoughts. I want them to succeed. I love this team, but I just call it like I see it. You need to be better. The fans are frustrated, or the fans that aren't kissing Mike Zimmer's ass, no offense, the fans are frustrated. I would imagine the Wolf brothers are frustrated. For all the money that the owners and the fans have invested in this franchise, we deserve a better output. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think the Vikings can get over the hump with Mike Zimmer as head coach? Send me a tweet with the hashtag modest take. Give me your take. What do you think? Can the Vikings be competitive, consistently competitive against the top tier teams, against the big boys in the NFL? Give me your tweet with the hashtag modest take. One lucky person will be selected at random to win a $25 gift card to Modest Brewing. This podcast is out on Monday, so I guess we'll announce it Wednesday afternoon. Just go ahead and check my Twitter feed at realistic_Randy. So we do this at least once a week. Mediocre at Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. You can also check me out on Facebook at Realistic Randy. We'll see you next time.